Going over the second gen Lexus GS. As you can see, you got some footage on the screen here. This is not a GS, obviously it's an Aristo. As you can see, it's in Japan, but same car. The engine choices are a little bit different. They got a little bit better engine choices in Japan. Also some option differences as well, but for all intents and purposes, for the visual aspect, this is what the Lexus GS looks like. Very underrated car. I mean, a lot of people know how good it is. It uses some of the most reliable drivetrains to be found on planet Earth, and so they sold a ton of them. A lot of people weren't a fan of the styling. However, I think the car has aged very gracefully in terms of its looks. Lowered like this on some wheels, you don't have to have it cambered out like this, but it still looks good low. And as I mentioned, the drivetrains are available. Even though we didn't get the best of them, we did have a 2JZ and the 1UZ. Shout out to Clean Whips in the chat. What is going on, man? So yesterday we did the Acura NSX. Today we're going to be doing this as more of a video to help people get kind of like a daily car. I know the car market is crazy right now. Prices are coming down a little bit for expensive and luxury cars. However, for these types of cars, these sub $10,000 cars, they are only going up in price because everyone wants a reliable, cheap car to drive around without a car note. And with these specifically, this is one of the best ones you can get. It's not that big, has really good drivetrain, very reliable. It's Toyota, and it has a luxurious interior. So we're gonna go over all that in a second. If you're new here, what we do is we go over the features, options, and problems for the vehicle after the videos, of course, and then we're going to use that information we learned from that to look at ads and price them out accordingly, seeing what different combinations of options we can find. Cleanwhip said, need one with the 4.3 V8. Yeah, in my opinion, we'll get to it, but I agree. I love the 3UZ. The 1UZ, of course, is good, but the 3UZ just a little bit better. You can see this is what the car looks like. What's crazy is that this car, even though it was a mid-size sedan back in the day, in modern standards, this is like a, I don't know what you want to call it, a small car in terms of its proportions. It's not that much bigger than a Corolla, like a new Corolla sedan. And on the interior, it's not, the biggest interior, but it still is comfortable. The back seats are going to be a little bit cramped if you're a taller person, obviously. This was kind of the thing with most cars back in the day. If you've ever ridden any 90s car, mid-sized car at least, the back seats are really tiny. Well, comparatively speaking to what you're used to. You guys can let me know what you think about this car. Do you think it's ugly? Do you think it's aged well? I think it's aged pretty well. It has like a classic design to it. I wouldn't say it's beautiful, but it's definitely a graceful design. The interior is also very nice, as you can see. Very ergonomic and simple. He's about to show the engine. So this is a GS 400 with the 1UZ. As you can see, little 1UZ right there. Also found in the LS 400. Probably what it's most famous for, honestly, the LS 400. But again, it was found in the GS as well. This one is in pretty good condition. You can see not too much dirt or dust underneath the engine bay. When you're looking at these cars, the biggest thing about an old Lexus is going to be condition. You want to make sure that everything looks as new as possible. The mileage is not really the biggest issue with these things. You can have ones that go over 200,000 miles that still look great. And for me personally, I'd rather get one with 200,000 miles that's been meticulously maintained and looks pristine than to get a 100,000 mile one that's been neglected. And so we're not going to be focusing too much on mileage, more so on condition. As you can see, Lexus tried to copy Mercedes with the quad headlights from the E-Class of the day. But the interior is going to be standard Lexus materials. You got a mix of plastic, wood, and leather. The wood is not the highest quality wood, obviously, but it still looks pretty good in terms of visual. One thing about these in comparison to the LS is that not only are they a little bit faster, they're a little bit more sporty. So these cars have like a more stiffer suspension than an LS. I'm just comparing to an LS because I have so much experience with one. They are a little bit, they have more power. And I mean, just something simple. Looking at the infotainment system, really easy to change to an aftermarket system. The HVAC and infotainment aren't integrated into one. I know that's a huge issue with LS people, especially the LS430, is that trying to install an aftermarket head unit is a pain if you have nav, and most of them did come with nav. Some people can find the ones that don't have nav, but those ones are usually pretty base. And yeah, that's just how it is. Cleanup said he likes the next gen GS all better, but this one is the OG one. Yeah, I actually really like the first gen one, the early 90s one. I think that one has a really classic JDM look. They're just really rare to find, and you know, it's an early 90s car. They're not going to be the most technologically advanced or modern in that sense. I do agree with you though. I like the next gen. I think the best decade for cars, period, is 2005 to 2015. And of course, the next gen falls into that category. However, this is pretty close, but still has a little bit more of a 90s vibe to it. All right, enough of this video. Let's see what else we can find. Oh, let me pause this real quick. All right, we got an exhaust video here, a 99. So this is going to be a GS 400, and they gave it true duals with Valvetronic mufflers. So let's see what it sounds like. This is with the valve closed. So as you can hear, that 1UZ sounds really nice.
That's with the valves closed, guys. He'll bring you back next week. There's sound decibels.
Wow, 95 decibels with valve closed. That's kind of crazy.
See, it's only a 98, so it's very quiet. So it's gonna bring you back next week, and we'll let you guys hear it after. Go ahead and back it up. Yeah.
And this is with the valves open. You get that deep guttural V8 noise, that 4-liter V8.
The Valvetronics open.
So the V8 sound pretty good in my opinion. People usually do a ton of things to these cars. They share a platform with a ton of other Toyota products, specifically JDM models. There are tons of different platforms that share the same, or tons of different cars that share the same platform. We'll get into all that when we get to the features. But you can hear it. People do a lot of stuff to these cars. There's tons of aftermarket support. Suspension, exhaust, engine mods. You can even manual swap it if you want. Lots of people have done that as well. Let's hear what it sounds like outside. What does it sound like? I want to hear it drive away.
Yeah, baby. Not bad at all. Valvetronics.
Sounds pretty good in my opinion. Let's listen to what a GS 300 sounds like. That was the V8. We're going to look at or listen to the straight 6. This one is obviously in the UK. Shout out to everyone who's in the chat right now. Let me know what you guys think about this car. I think it's a great daily buy if you want to get something to just run around town in. These cars are super reliable. The interior quality is nice. You're not going to run into too many problems. And last of all, they are cheap. Not the cheapest things out there. I'm not going to say they're like $2 or $3 grand, but they are definitely worth the price. And I believe that they're going to just stay the same price for a while. They're not really going to come down because everyone's looking, at least for now, while people are looking for, you know, cheap, no payment vehicles. They just want to buy them in cash. People are going to gravitate towards these early Toyotas, especially, early Lexuses, because everyone knows how reliable a Toyota is, but some people might just want something a little bit more luxurious. So let's hear what this straight 6 sounds like with an exhaust. This is going to be the 2JZ GE non-turbo. Sounds pretty good in my opinion. Not the best sounding motor. I'm not really a big fan of 6 cylinders in terms of their sound, but it does sound potent. It's not bad at all. Enough of that. All right, you know what? Let's actually just get into the show. What is going on, y'all? Onward Cars, back again with another car buyer's guide. As you can see today, we're going to be going over the 2nd gen Lexus GS. This went from 97 to around 2004, 2005. It's really hard to find 2005 models, but 2005 is the official end model year. But before we get into all that, some quick announcements. If you haven't already, join my Discord. If I can drag it over here. This is where I post all the announcements of the show. This is also where we talk about, different stuff car related. As you can see, we got people from all over the world in here. Talk about everything that has to do with cars, showing off, what we're doing to our cars, modifications and whatnot, things we plan on buying. So shout out to my man's right here. He just picked up this C63S 2019. Looks amazing. But yeah, join the Discord. And sorry, I didn't mean to minimize that. I'm also doing a giveaway. I usually do giveaways after every 2 or 3 weeks. So if you want to win $50, all you got to do is join the Discord, like and comment on any video on the channel, as well as subscribing. 85% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, so subscribe. And also sharing a video with somebody you know, or you can share a reel. I put reels for the show on my Instagram down below, so hit that link in the description. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, I'll follow you back. Just let me know that you are coming from the show, and I'll definitely hit you or follow you back. So yeah, if you want to win $50, just join the Discord. It's completely free. Links are in the description. So cool, let's get on with the show. So first of all, we're going to start off with the features, options, and problems. If you're new here, what we do is features, options, and problems. Then afterwards, we look at ads on Facebook Marketplace, Auto Trader, and Car Gurus to go compare different configurations of spec, as well as to price out, different examples. So we'll start off with the features. 1997 to 2004, as I mentioned before, with the facelift in 2001, a very minor facelift though. They only revised the grille, the tail lamps, and they subtly tinted the headlights. It's really hard to tell, but for the most part, all the way from 97 to 2004, pretty much look identical. There were some other changes as well. Xenon headlights became standard on the V8s and became optional on the straight sixes, and more wood trim was added, and the steering wheel shift buttons were added to the straight six models, which were previously only available on the V8 models. The V8 also went from a 400 to from 4 liter to a 4.3, so it went from the GS 400 to the GS 430. It went from the 1UZ to the 3UZ. It also included larger caster arm bushings on the facelifted models, and the 430 has ECU tunability. So if you're into that kind of stuff, the 430 is the car for you. The 400 isn't as tunable. They haven't figured out a way to crack the ECU yet. You can get a piggyback where you can, get a separate ECU that mounts onto it and then changes that way. But in terms of tuning the actual ECU, the 400s aren't really that tunable. So if you want to go that direction, get a 430. And of course, with everything else being facelift and more modern, that's just going to be an easier car to live with. They also updated the brake master cylinder. This was an issue for the pre-facelift cars and kind of an issue across the board for these cars, even though they updated the brake master cylinder. We'll get into that though when we get to the problems. The GS uses the same platform as the Mark II, the Chaser, the Cresta, and the Aristo, but of course the Aristo is just a GS, it's just the Japanese twin. And so if you're familiar with the Mark II Chaser and Cresta, those are really, really good cars with really good driving dynamics. A lot of people use them to race and drift and whatnot. Lots and lots of aftermarket options for those, which carry over to this. So tons of different stuff you can do with this car. Exhaust, suspension, engine mods. You can get supercharged, you can get a manual swap. Tons of different things you can do with this platform. It's actually a really good platform, and people don't really understand that it's the same platform as these other three cars because it looks like this. But again, tons of aftermarket availability for the GS. So there are two models. Give me 1 second, y'all. I got a call that I have to answer. Hello? Yep, this is him.
Am I saying that correctly? Hey, how are you doing? This is Josh.
I'm doing well. How are you? apologies for that, y'all. I had a important call that I had to attend to. But yeah, anyway, going back to what we were talking about in the show, I'll probably just cut all that out. You know, YouTube allows me to do that, so sorry about that to everyone watching live, but it is what it is. You know, Clean Whips, I was reading your chat and I forgot to add the Sport Edition to the options, and that kind of pissed me off. So we'll get through all that eventually, but when we get there, we'll get there. So in terms of the engines, you guys probably already read this while I was gone for a second, but for the pre-facelift models, 1997 to 2000, we had the 2JZGE making 225 horsepower. I'm sorry, this was for all years basically. 225 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque for the 3-liter straight 6. And then for the pre-facelift, they used the 1UZ as we mentioned before, making 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, with the facelift moving up to the 3UZ with a 4.3-liter V8, making 300 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. So just a little bit more torque, just a little bit more grunt on the low end to make it easier to drive, but pretty much the same numbers. They don't really change. The 0 to 60 is within 0.2 seconds of one to the other in terms of the V8 models. So it really just, if you want a more refined vehicle, then get a facelift. But if you just want the V8, you can always get the pre-facelift. These cars are rear-wheel drive only, and they use a 5-speed ASIN A650E transmission. Cool. All right, let's move on to the problems. I have a long list of problems, but this is kind of an exhaustive list. You probably won't run into half of these problems if you look at one yourself. I just want to make sure you guys understand everything that can go wrong with these cars. And when you're looking at this list, it's not that long. So first of all, you have a rattling windshield. It's just a thing. The windshield becomes rattly after a while. This either means the seals and gaskets around the edge aren't, they're not as good as they were originally. So the windshield can rattle a little bit. Door lock actuators are a big issue with these early Lexus models. Across the board, there's a little motor in the door lock actuator, and after a certain period of time, either the motor stops working or it can get stripped. Usually it stops working, and so therefore you're gonna have to replace either the entire door lock actuator assembly, which is kind of expensive, they're like $200 to $300, or you can change out the motor. However, I've had experience with changing out the motor and it doesn't work. I don't know exactly what went wrong, but what happened is that the motor itself is way too strong for the assembly itself, and it will actually like twist itself in the assembly when you try to lock and unlock the doors. And so you can run into that issue too if you're doing it yourself, simply because the assembly is glued together. It's not screwed together or anything. So when you take it apart, you kind of have to press it back together, and sometimes it stays together, but sometimes it can actually, depending on the torque of the motor you put in there, can separate a little bit and cause the slipping there. So yeah, you can change the motor. I've done it before, and I've had plenty of luck changing the motors and nothing happened, but I've also had bad luck where the motor starts slipping and it makes a crazy noise, almost like an automatic gun every time you hit the unlock button. So that's that. You also have like AC electronic fault. So if the AC doesn't blow cold, it's not necessarily the compressor and condenser in that whole AC system. It could be an ECU issue. So before you tear apart your AC system, just make sure that it actually is a physical issue and not an electronic issue. You also have MAF sensor issues. These usually just are caused by dirt accumulating on the MAF sensor. They're located on the intake of the car. You can always buy a MAF sensor cleaner, and then you're able to just clean off the MAF. It's pretty straightforward if you know what I'm talking about. Another thing, O2 sensors, the heater circuits in them go bad. The heater circuit basically is it's a little circuit, and it heats up the O2 sensor so it's able to read accurately, and the heater circuit goes out, making the whole O2 sensor not read properly. And you're just going to end up having to replace your O2 sensors. It is what it is. For a car that's 20 years old, you're going to run into problems like this. VVT solenoid. I've seen this occasionally on the 6 cylinders, the straight 6. The VVT solenoid will go out, and it won't go into, it won't adjust the valve timing. You'll be stuck at, one or the other, like a low RPM valve timing situation or a high RPM valve timing situation. Get stuck, or it doesn't move when it's supposed to. It doesn't adjust the cams when it needs to. And so if your car is just low on power, that could be the culprit. You also have HVAC servo motor issues. These aren't too prevalent, but they could happen if you're trying to change the direction of the air. And they don't, basically it doesn't change with what you're selecting. There's a little digital screen. If you push it to where it's facing you, and then you push it to where it's facing your feet, and it doesn't go to your feet, it still comes out of the top, your HVAC servo motor might be bad. This is a timing belt engine for both of them. However, for the timing belt and water pump for both engines, you need to get done every 75,000 miles or 6 years. standard stuff on early Lexuses. Gaskets and hoses are probably getting brittle at this age. So if you pick up a car that hasn't really been worked on, you probably want to get all the hoses and gaskets at least looked at, because if not, when you start driving it a lot, because I know a lot of people are going to start using these as daily drivers now, they could start leaking, and you don't want to run into any types of problems where you starve your engine of oil or coolant or anything like that. Rust is also a big problem on these cars. You want to make sure that there is no or minimal rust on the bottom, especially in the rocker panels where the jack points are specifically. That is where the rust happens the most. Not only do the rocker panels get all dented up from people not putting the jacks in the proper space, but when that happens, the cracks in the paint and the cracks in whatever sealant they use on the bottom, of course, get exposed, and then it rusts really easily, and then it can become really soft. The worst thing that can happen is you try to jack up your car, and the jack basically pushes through the car. Not only do you, if your wheel is off, you're kind of screwed because now you're sitting on your rotor, but you also probably will ruin the bottom of your door as well. So make sure that the rust, especially on the rocker panels, is not as bad, or not too bad. Again, northern climate cars are going to be worse. Cars that are located in the Rust Belt area are going to be worse. So just keep that in mind. Oil leaks, again, with the gasket issues, you want to make sure that your valve cover gaskets, the transmission differential, this exhaust thing should be with rust up here, but yeah, so your exhaust can rust as well, so keep that in mind. But yeah, the differential, it has a little vent. If that gets clogged, then you will start seeing leaks because it doesn't vent out the pressure, and then the pressure causes the differential fluid to leak other places. But yeah, rust, not only the rocker panels, but the exhaust as well. Cloudy lights, you'll see this a lot. Really, the only solution is to really get new lights. They're not too expensive, but you're probably going to run about $500 to $700 for a set of lights. So keep that in mind. If the lights are too cloudy, you can try to clean them up and buff them out, but new set of lights is always going to look way better. Lower ball joints are a huge issue on these cars. In fact, when they say, or when you buy one of these, they say just to change the lower ball joints, they become brittle. And the worst thing about them is when they fail, it ruins your entire day, because the wheel and the hub and the assembly will just kind of go out like this. Now your car is on the ground. And yeah, if you're driving at speed, that can be a big issue, a big safety issue. Another big issue that these cars have are the brake master cylinder failures. A lot of people, they use brake master cylinders from later vehicles and put them in this car. You can do that. Brake master cylinders are very expensive as a part. I believe it's like almost $2,000 for a brake master cylinder, like a period correct GS brake master cylinder. People replace them with all different types of Lexus brake master cylinders, whether that be from an SC430, maybe even an LS430. I'm not too sure about the LS430, but I have heard that SC430 used a lot. Steering wheel motors go out, so the tilt and telescoping features of the steering wheel, of course, is an early Lexus. Those motors are going to go out at some point. Those are also very expensive to replace, not because the motors are expensive, but because of the labor. It's a lot of work to get all the mechanism out and replace all that. So if your steering wheel is like on its way out, it's best to just take out the fuse and just leave the wheel where it's supposed to be, because on these cars what happens is when you turn off the car, it resets the steering wheel, so it goes up and it goes in, and then when you turn on the car, it goes out and it goes down to wherever you want. So if you take out the fuse, then your wheel will just stay in the same spot, and you won't have to worry about burning out your motors if they still work. Also, the starter and knock sensors are located under the intake, and the knock sensors, these cars are kind of sensitive to using regular gas, and so I know this happened on my old LS430. I put in regular gas because I thought I could. It was very stupid of me. But yeah, as soon as I put in regular gas, I guess the knock sensors were like that close to being out, and then they just went out. And so when that happens, the car is not able to adjust timing. It's stuck either in a like a low RPM timing situation or a high RPM timing situation. Same thing with the VVT solenoid situation. It gets stuck, so it also limits the amount of fuel. So it just doesn't drive very smoothly, and it drives very slow. So if you want to replace your knock sensors, you're going to have to lift up the intake manifold. This is on the V8 specifically. And same thing with the starter. The starter is also located in the V of the car. Yeah, and then paint. A lot of these cars are going to have really worn paint jobs at this point, so be very wary of the paint. It's easy to take a picture like this from 20 feet away and it looks good, and you look at it in person, you're like, wow, this looks horrible. So usually the paint starts fading on the hood and the roof and the top of the trunk, just because those are the biggest, flattest areas, and that's where the sun usually hits. So in terms of problems, that's pretty much it. As you can see, not really many problems to do mechanically with the engine and drivetrain itself. It's more of leaks and just maintenance around those components. All right, cool. Let's move on to the packages. And I forgot. I literally was looking at it, but I've been so busy today, y'all. As you saw, that I had that important call. But we're just going to go over the options. So for the first model year, they had these individual options, but after 1998, they went to packages. So it just makes it a little bit easier, but I'll just read it off how they had it on the brochure. First of all, you have the color, you have the engine. So in terms of the straight 6 or the V8, you also have the choice between the 16-inch wheels or the 17-inch wheels. I believe the 16-inch are 6 spokes and the 17 inches are 5 spoke wheels. You can also get chrome wheels as well. You can get a 6-disc CD changer, heated front seats, HID headlamps, and then the GS300 leather trim package with memory. Most of them, if not all of them, are going to have leather seats. It's really, really rare to find one without leather seats, so you don't really have to worry about that. And then a Nakamichi premium audio system. So that's going to be like their pre-Mark Levinson system. In terms of packages they offer, you also could get nav. You also could get the rear spoiler. The rear spoiler looks really nice on these cars. I kind of like it. And then a power moonroof. So if you want, you can see this one does not have it. In terms of packages, they're pretty much the same packages between the 300 and the 400, or the V8 and the straight 6. However, as you can see, the straight 6 has heated front seats as a standalone option. This is going to be 1998 and up. And then the audio system as a standalone option. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Anyway, the packages, so you have the nav package. So if you get the nav package on a 1998 or later, you're going to get a nav, 6-disc changer, power moonroof, heated seats, HIDs, Nakamichi audio system pack, or HID, nav, 6-disc changer, power moonroof, heated seats, and HIDs. Then you have the Nakamichi, let me not sound like a white guy. Anyway, Nakamichi audio system packages, which includes the premium sound system, 6-disc changer, power moonroof, heated seats, HIDs. Then you have the premium package, 6-disc changer, power moonroof, heated seats, HIDs. So in terms of the premium, is the same thing as the nav. The nav just has nav, and then the audio system package just comes with that, but they're all pretty much the same. Then you have the rear spoiler. If you get the rear spoiler, you have to get nav or the audio package. Then you have the options for the 300, again, 1998 and up. You're going to have leather front seats, heated trim package with memory, nav package, Nakamichi audio system package, and then the premium package, which are identical to these packages here. You also have the sport design, or sport edition. Let's just take a look at that because I don't want to leave that out. So I'm just reading this for the first time with you guys. It has the black wood on the inside. You'll get blacked out headlights and a lip spoiler. You can see that here. I'm trying to see, you're talking about the brick leather seats. Are you talking about these brown saddles? Oh, I see it. Let me know what you're talking about, because if you're talking about these, yeah, like these orange seats, I do agree. The saddle brown is very nice. Yeah, that's what it is. The saddle brown interior. You also get a nicer wood. But again, looking at the interior, I really like the way the gauges glow green. That's a really retro thing that I like. But yeah, this is the Sport Edition. I believe we have one of them on the list for cars to look at. In terms of brochures, I'll show you guys the brochures real quick. So as we can see here, this is the 1998. You can see these are going to be the packages and options kind of mixed in here. You also have the 17-inch chrome wheel options here. I mentioned that. In terms of colors, they don't show up here. We have exterior colors, but they don't really show interior colors. But you have like a beige, you have a gray, you have a black, and then for the Sport Edition, you do have the saddle. 1999 one looks pretty much exactly the same. Then you have 2000. They changed up the style of the ad. It doesn't look that great, honestly. It's really hard to read, but as you can see here, these are going to be the packages that I mentioned. 2003, they added a lot more information talking about the whole ethos of the car. Lots of good info here. And we can see the different interior colors. You have black, ivory, and light charcoal. You can either get it perforated or non-perforated. And these are going to be your exterior colors. A lot of just boring colors for this car. Yeah, you can see they had a red for the pre-facelift, but during the facelift days, at least in 2003, they got rid of the red. Just have a bunch of really boring colors. And then for 2004, they brought back all the nice colors. And again, you have the same choice of leather. And then, of course, the Sport design, which has the saddle leather. They don't really show the wood options here. But I guess we'll see that when we look at the different options available. In terms of what I like, I love black interiors. I think this one is going to be the best. I also really like the interiors of these in general. When compared to the LS interiors, these ones look a lot nicer and a lot more plush. You can see the wrinkled leather. Like in the LS, they don't have this. And I wish they did, because it looks a lot more contemporary. It looks a lot more comfortable. And yeah, I wish they did, but it is what it is. The GS, you know, the LS isn't going to be superior in every way. The GS is definitely a more sporty car and has a little bit more flair in terms of design. Anyway, let's get on to the ads. So we have our first example here on Facebook. This is going to be a 99 GS 300 with 167,000 miles. We can see it does have the 2JZ non-turbo. That's what we got here in the United States. No GTE, just the GE. See that here? See what he has to say about it. Tell me about what's changed around 30,000 miles ago. Needs nothing. I mean, it looks pretty good except for the cosmetic issues. We can see a little scrape right there, but it's whatever. Again, this is a 99 with 166,000 miles on it. So it, you know, it's actually pretty low mile for what it is. Silver though, not really a big fan of the silver. It looks pretty plain. We can see these tail lights. What happens is over time, these inner tail lights will get white or they'll become pink. And so you can always respray them with, you know, headlight or tail lights like spray paint to make them back to red, or you can just get new ones. Up to you. Lots of cosmetic damage on this car though. They try to fix it up. It doesn't look the best. But yeah, anyway. Interior doesn't look that great either. We can see these back seats are heavily worn with some tears appearing here. This center console is also heavily worn. The seats in the front don't look as worn, which is surprising. We can see this one does not have nav. And it looks like this one does have the Nakamichi system. So other than that, I mean, gray interior. This one's the gray seats. It's probably the worst spec that that is available for this car, gray on gray. But as you can also see, no seat heaters on this one, just the power, and then you're gonna have your VSC off right here. So not too many options on this one. It is a 99, but the mileage is, you know, relatively low. I'd say for this car, 5,800 is a little bit high, granted, or given the fact that it doesn't look that great in terms of cosmetic. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but a big thing for me on these old Lexuses is not really gonna be mileage. It's more of the cosmetic aspect of the car. You want it to look as good as possible. You want it to be, you want to buy a car that was taken care of, and this one doesn't look like it was taken care of that well. So, you know, keeping that in mind, for 166,000 miles, I'd be willing to go up to $4,300. Cool. Moving on to our next example, we have another, or no, sorry, this is a 2001, so this is going to be a facelifted example. You can see the front looks just slightly different. It's really hard to tell, but the lights are a little bit darker, but that's pretty much about it. On aftermarket wheels, not really a big fan of these. 120,000 miles. This is actually a lower mile car. We can see, is this a clean title? Yep, clean title. Not everything works. It's on lowering springs, which is all right. Depends on what you want, but it is on some aftermarket wheels. We can see here that it is a gold car. Body panel fitment isn't the best. This one does look a little bit on the rougher side. Let's take a look at the interior. Interior though looks really nice. This one is going to be, yeah, this is the gray interior car as well. The back seats actually look way worse than the front seats, which lead me to believe that these front seats aren't stock, but they might be, you know, you never know. But the back seats just look terrible. Front seat, yeah, these are stock seats. 120,000 miles on this one is actually really good though. We can see here, audio system, Nakamichi audio system. But yeah, most of these are going to come pretty well equipped just because that's what people wanted at the time. They didn't really want to get the base ones. Those were more reserved for other markets. We can see here, no heated seats. The heated seat buttons are going to be in the middle right here. So no heated seats. Can't read that, unfortunately. But yeah, this gold one, gray interior, not the best spec either. Aftermarket wheels, you know, they don't look that great to me, but they could be something that other people like, so I'm not going to knock it. 120,000 miles and they want 5,800 for it. I think that's actually not too bad. The mileage is super low on this one. It's a GS 300, so keep that in mind. The 300s are going to be a little bit cheaper than the V8 models. So if you're into one of these, I think, you know, I try to get it for $5,000 because it doesn't have the original wheels. But in terms of the interior quality, it's not the worst. But it does look kind of bad for 120,000 miles if we're going to be honest, especially the back seats. I'd be at $5,000 for this one just because it's lowish miles and it is a facelift vehicle. Moving on to our next one, we have another 2001. This one is going to be gray as well. As you can see, a ton of gray ones out there. Gray and silver were kind of the more popular colors for this car. But this one has a black interior. I love the black interiors. They look so good. Yeah, as you can see, black interior. with the wood. Anything here. He also has an aftermarket head unit, so very convenient. You can play your modern music. You probably have CarPlay as well. It also has a backup camera. So if you're into that, you can save some time and money by buying a car with it already installed. As I mentioned before, it's pretty easy to install one of these compared to an LS or something else because the HVAC and the multimedia audio system are going to be separate. So this one, not too bad. 134,000 miles. They want $6,000 for it. There is a black interior tax. I'm not going to lie. Black interiors do go for a premium. So for this one, for me at least, I love cars. Well, I don't want to say I love cars, but I really prefer a car to have all the audio stuff kind of set up. It makes it a lot easier. I don't really like messing with cars as much as I used to, honestly, because what I've learned is that every time I mess with a car in terms of fixing it or doing any work myself, I break something. I get it. That might just be me, but I'm tired of it. And so if everything is installed already, that is a good thing for me as long as it works and it's high quality. For this one, $6,000 has 134,000 miles. I'd say for me, being that it is a black interior car, I'd be willing to go up to $5,500 for this vehicle. Let's take a look. Yeah, and cosmetically, it doesn't look nearly as bad. The paint is kind of fading, but in terms of dents and whatnot, you don't really see any big dings or the body panels aren't lining up. Everything looks pretty good on something like this. So yeah, $5,500 for a black interior car, I think would be fair. But you could always go lower than that. It all depends on how desperate the seller is. $5,000 probably is a good starting place, but $5,500 I'd be fine with. Moving on to our next example, we have another 2001. Tons of 2001s you'll see. This one is going to be in gold with the beige interior. I believe this is beige. Yeah, this would be gray. This would be beige. You can see it has the wood trim, and this one does have the seat heaters. You can see the switches right there in the middle. Back seats look pretty decent. They actually look like they've really never been used. This interior is actually not the, I'd say the front is actually pretty bad, but the back seat is pretty good. So interior is kind of bad, but not too bad. No accidents though. That is really good. 107,000 miles. So it's crazy how cheap these are compared to LS 430s. If an LS 430, I get it. It's a whole different car, but that's really what I always think about this for an LS 430. And this car is a lot cheaper. 107,000 miles. They want it for $6,500. It's been for sale for 5 weeks and he hasn't got anything. So yeah, it's probably a little bit too expensive. You can see some scuffs right here. Side looks good. How about the front? Front looks all right too. You can tell not really any big panel gaps you have to worry about. But yeah, the interior, the front two seats and the armrest, the center console is really what I would be looking at. It doesn't look too great. No issues, runs great, whatever. They always say that, but you don't have to check it out yourself. But, taking them for their word, I'd say for having only 107,000 miles and being a 2001, but with a beige interior, it's kind of a beige on beige car. Not the best spec either. I'd be willing to go up to $5,500. Yeah, $5,500 is something that I would say that was a good deal for one of these. $5,500. Shout out to everyone that's still in here. I really apologize for that long call earlier. Kind of ruined the flow of the show, but it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. So yeah, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't. 85% of you guys aren't subscribed. I do these videos every single weekday, so you're not going to miss, or you're going to miss out if you don't subscribe. So do that for me. Let's try to get to 1,500 subscribers by the end of the month. We're at 1,420 right now. So yeah, $5,500 for this one I think is not a bad deal. You could probably go a little bit lower if you try. It's been for sale for 5 weeks, but $5,500 I think for a 107,000 mile Lexus. And this is a 430, by the way. I forgot to mention that. This one's all the ones we were looking at were 300s. This one is a 430. So $5,500 for a 100,000 mile 430. The 3UZ lasts for 300 plus thousand miles, and you can get this for $5,000. Yeah, I'd say this would be a really good deal. If you don't really care about the cosmetic aspect that much. Here we have another 300. This one's gonna be a 2001. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Clean title. 430. Yeah, you can't go wrong with this. Like 107,000 mile 430 Lexus LS 430 is going to be 3 times this price, and you're getting the exact same drivetrain. In fact, you actually make a little bit more power with the 430 or the 3UZ in the GS and in the Lexus. I keep saying Lexus, the LS 430. The GS 430 makes 300 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque, while the Lexus, God, I keep doing that. The LS 430 makes like 270 or 280 horsepower. So this one, and a little bit more torque. So yeah, this one is actually a pretty good deal. It just doesn't look that great cosmetically. Here we have a black example with a beige interior. We can see that the wheel is not looking too great, but everything else looks really, really good. I'm not too sure what's going on here, if it's been reupholstered or anything, but it looks good. Back seats look good as well. You can see excellent condition. They weren't lying. The only thing that's really bad about this car is going to be that steering wheel in terms of the interior. You can also see the exterior looks pretty good as well. No blemishes on this black paint. It actually looks really good, honestly. Yeah, I mean, this car is in fantastic condition for what it is. 300 though, so keep that in mind. With 190,000 miles, this is what I'm talking about. So with these cars, it really doesn't matter the mileage. You can see ones that have 100,000 miles that are worn to death, but this one is going to be a 2001 with 190,000 miles, and it is the cleanest one we've seen so far. So it all depends on, you know, how the owner took care of it. I think with this one, either replace the wheel or put on a steering wheel cover, and that'll fix all your issues right there. Good description. Yeah, 79 pages of service records, so that's good. This would be something that you really want to, that is actually very valuable in an ad to have, or in a car really, is to have a big stack of service records, so you know exactly what has been done to the car. You can see how much has been spent and whatnot. And yeah, has everything. Let's see. No, rare midnight pine color. Oh, this isn't black, it's green. So this is actually a dark green midnight pine. That is it looks black to me, to be honest, but I guess it is not. Very rare color, green on tan, classy spec. I think this is actually a really good one if you want to get into something that is going to be something nice that you can bring people in. Yeah, he said it needs the wing though. Yeah, I'm talking about the last one. Yeah, the wing does look very nice. I'm surprised more people didn't get the wing, but I guess, you know, people get Lexuses to be more understated more than anything, so the wing was probably too much for them. But we can see here, looks good. You can see Nakamichi audio, standard stuff. Again, the wheel is the only problem here. I'm trying to see the center console. They don't really show it. Yep, no seat heaters in this car though, so that is unfortunate. No nav either. Very few of these cars have nav compared to the LS, which most of them have nav. But yeah, this one has a great service history. 190,000 miles though, so for 2001 being 190,000 miles, but with supreme service history, I'd be willing to go up to 5,800 bucks for this one. I think 5,800, 1,000 less than this would be a really, really good deal. And plus, you know, if you're buying a beater, you at least want it to look nice, and this one looks very, very nice, especially on the inside. Cool. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2001 again. Tons of 2001s, as I mentioned before. But as you can see, this one has some aftermarket stuff. We got some newer wheels. We have some aftermarket headlights. Not really a big fan of the way this looks. I just want to throw it in here just so you guys can know what you'll probably expect to see with cars like these. People customize these a lot. Yeah, these taillights are super rice. Wheels are super rice. I mean, headlights are super rice. It is what it is, but we have a tan car. Interior looks all right. Beige interior. Nothing really crazy going on here. We do have the seat heaters. We do have the moonroof. Back seats look immaculate as well. So this is actually a really well taken care of vehicle. Has drilled and slotted brakes, black headlights, LED tail lights, black grille, front lip, window visors, fresh oil change, blah, blah, blah. Clean title in hand. 140,000 miles. You can tell this guy cares about his car because not only did he customize it, but he listed it for a crazy price. 7,800 bucks. Listed it 11 weeks ago. And yeah, this guy really likes his car. He doesn't want to sell it. That's why he listed it at that high of a price. I say for me, having 140,000, but with these mods and not having the original parts, because I'm a big proponent of getting the original parts for the car. Not only, or you have two options. You can either put them back on and sell the aftermarket parts, or you can do the opposite. You know, just sell the OEM stuff and keep this and kind of take away from your cost. So for this one, having 140,000 miles and being in this condition, which is pretty, the inside is actually really nice. The outside is okay. I'd be willing to go up to 5,500 bucks for this one. Nah, I'd be willing to go up to $5,000, honestly. $5,000 for this one is where I'd be at. Cool. All right. $5,000. Moving on to our next example. I didn't reset these, whatever. You can see we have a 2002 here, 183,000 miles. This is a 430, so this is the V8 one. This is the one to get if you want one. The cosmetic condition isn't the best. You can see the bumper is kind of beat up. Both sides, actually. No spoiler. Yeah, the cosmetic condition on this is actually pretty terrible. 183,000 miles. At least they price it accordingly. 3,600 bucks is what they're asking. Nothing really to say about it. Car is in great shape. Don't lie to me, man. You can see here it has the beige interior. Or the gray interior. I don't know, man. It's really hard for me to tell the difference between beige and gray sometimes because the lighting definitely makes a difference. But this does look actually pretty great to me. So gray interior, gray exterior, but it is a 430. Cosmetically, it's probably like a 4 out of 10. Not very good at all. But apparently, it's a great car. And it shifts smooth and runs and drives perfect. AC and heat work great. Everything works as it should. It just doesn't look that great. If they're telling the truth, I mean, if 183,000 miles is nothing for a 430. So if you can get this for like 2,500 bucks, yeah, that would be a steal. You can always get this stuff touched up with the money you save. So 2,500 is where I'd be at, simply because the cosmetic condition inside and out is not the best. $2,500. Moving on to our next example. This one is going to be a sport design. This is what you're waiting for. Clean whips. You can see it's in the gray, the graphite gray. 190k miles, so high mile car. You can see the headlights are starting to yellow a little bit. It's on these newer GS wheels, I believe, but it is a sport design, so very, very desirable. I love the saddle interiors on these. You can see, I mean, the bumper is not in that great of a condition, but it is a sport design. You can always get that other stuff fixed. You can see the saddle interior looks really, really good. Back seats look unsatin. Like, these look pretty, well, there might be a little tear here, but they look pretty much perfect. You can see it has the wood, and then this one has an aftermarket head unit as well, Pioneer unit. You see good tires, blah, blah, blah. But this is a 300, so straight six. You can see timing belt service done, tune-up, 19-inch GS, yep. Staggered F-Sport wheels, lowered on H&R springs, cold AC, LED fog lights. This one has a rebuilt title though, so very unfortunate. Again, I couldn't really find too many sport designs, but as you can see, lots of wear and tear on the front seats. Center console is also a little bit worn. So this is probably one of the worst sport design examples you can find. Most of them are going to be in pretty good condition because people love those. Yeah, I do agree. The gray is really nice. But it is still a rebuild title. And so they're asking 6,500 and it has 190,000 miles. Yeah, this would be probably what I'd pay for it with 190,000 miles if it had the a clean title. So taking off 40%, 65 times 0.1, I guess, is 650 times 4. What's 650 times 4? So that's 2,400, 2,800. So let's see, 6,500 times 0.6. Yeah, 3,900 bucks is where I'd be at for this example. Rebuild title I'd really stay away from anyway, but that's the offer I would make. Cool. Moving on to our last example. This one is very custom, but I really like the way it looks. It's on the chrome 6-spoke wheels. You can see that it's black, which I love. Black on black. The interior is where they did the most work. You can see they put it in Alcantara headliner. They got a whole bunch of Junction Produce parts in here. I don't know if they're real or fake, but they're there. You can see it looks really nice. They put a quilted leather trim on the doors. This one is just a really good VIP build in terms of the materials. You can see the seat looks, I can't tell this is a tear or just a dent, but as you can see, it looks really good. They replaced the wood with the black wood. As you can see, what did they say? Yep, Aristo Blackwood upgrade. I love the Blackwood on these cars, but again, this is all custom parts. But these do exist. If you want to get one that's been fully built out, you do have the option to buy one already made. So, yeah, I mean, 10 grand they're asking for this is a little bit high, but it only has 150,000 miles. It is also a 300, so that doesn't really help it either. I'd say because it has all this custom work done, and it's a 2003 with 150,000 miles, I'd be willing to. It also has a big brake kit from the LS400, and then Megan Racing. Megan Racing kind of sucks, but I would be willing to go up to. I'd be willing to go up to 6,500 bucks for this one, simply because it has such a unique interior, and it's a black interior with Alcantara. You just really can't beat that. So 6,500 bucks for this example. If it was a V8, I'd be willing to go a little bit higher. Cool. Moving on to Auto Trader, the next place we look at ads. We have our first example here, a black 98. We can see here 5-spoke wheels with a tan interior. Exterior looks okay. You can see some rock chips here and there. Oh, that is a big dent. Wow. That doesn't look really that great at all. I like how they took a picture once and they avoided that whole side completely. You can see here it has the beige interior. No seat heaters. Sunroof though. No nav system, but it does have the audio system, the premium Nakamichi audio system. But it does have this big old dent right here. It pulled out the fender basically. I don't know what's going on. They didn't really take a good picture of it. 176,000 miles. They want it for 5,500 bucks. I'd say no thank you. That big dent is an issue for me, especially because they didn't really take a picture of it. So it's probably worse than it seems. I'd be willing to go up to 3 grand for this car. It's a 98 300 with big body. It has some body issues with almost 180,000 miles. 3 grand is where I'd be at. Yeah, it's got the spoiler though. Yeah, so this is what the spoiler looks like, guys. I really like the way the spoiler looks. It really makes the car look a little bit more modern. But yeah, Has a spoiler. Moving on to our next example. This one has a spoiler too. However, this one looks a lot cleaner. Looking at the headlights up front, we can see they're either been really taken care of or they're brand new. Either way, they look really good. Black as well. We can see a spoiler on this too. 5-spoke wheels. This one almost looks exactly identical to the last one, except we do have, we have a lot of wood trim on this one. Let me see the interior of this last one. Yeah, a lot more wood trim on this one, I guess because this is a facelift. No, it's not. It's a 98 as well. So not sure what's going on with this wood trim. You guys can educate me on that. It's not obviously not stock. It's different than the wood. It just looks really strange. I'm not really a big fan of that actually. But the seats, they look okay. Armrest looks okay. They don't really show much other than that. The wood trim just looks kind of tacky to me. $5,000. It only has 106,000 miles, and this is a 400. So I mean, honestly, this is not a bad deal. It has a spoiler and everything. Just the interior quality is not the best, but it's not the worst. It's probably like a 6.5 out of 10. Perfectly doable for a $5,000 car. I'd say for me though, just because of the interior having this weird wood stuff, I'd be going up to $4,000. But $4,000 for a 100,000 mile 1UZ is always going to be a fire deal. The 1UZ, just like the 3UZ, can last hundreds of thousands of miles if you take care of it. So if you want a daily beater, $4,000 that will last hundreds of thousands of miles, you really can't go wrong with one of these, honestly. In fact, when I'm looking at these, man, I kind of want one just to have side by side with my LS, because these are really cheap and you can get them with low miles for the same price as what I paid for my LS with 3 times the miles, which is crazy. Cool. Moving on to our next example, we have a 98. This one is going to be in white. We can see the headlights on this one are also very nice looking. 5-spoke wheels. Looks like it has a beige interior. We can see these lights have faded out completely. This is what happens after a while. These interior lights start to turn pink, then they turn white. That's what happens here. We also have the gold package, the very rare and exclusive Lexus gold trim package, which, you know, it's either a love or hate thing. This one also has a spoiler as well, so pretty cool. Sunroof, you can see that too. And then here, obviously something has gone wrong with the seat bottom, so they put on, you know, a cover. It is what it is. Interior isn't that great. We can see the center console top is also not stock. It doesn't look stock. It doesn't really match. Seat heaters on this one. This one has an aftermarket head unit as well. So pretty optioned out. This one is a 300, so keep that in mind. Only the straight 6, but it does have pretty much everything that you want. Yeah, spoiler with the gold emblems. That's like prime late 90s, early 2000s spec. Back seats look very worn. That's probably mirroring the front seats. So the interior quality of this car isn't the best. But again, they're asking $4,800 and it has almost 200,000 miles, 198,000 miles. So yeah, for this one, $4,800 is what they're asking. I'd say for me, being that because this car is a 98 pre-facelift, high miles, the interior kind of sucks, I'd be willing to go up to $3,900 for this one. I think 39 would be a fair deal, especially since it's still a 300. Cool, moving on to our next example. We have a 99, so we're getting there. I'm getting up in the years. This one's going to be in beige. Body lines look good. I don't see any type of body issues, actually, so far. This looks really good. Bumpers look nice. The lower rockers might look a little, you know, dusty, but overall, the condition of the car is very, very good. Interior matches that as well. We got a beige on beige. However, the interior is very nice. No tears, hardly any creases to speak of. What else can we see here? Yep, back seats look the same. This is actually a really, really nice vehicle. I mean, it only has 92,000 miles, so it better be... Oh, you guys can't really see that. 92,000 miles. Aftermarket head unit here. Very clean, actually. Everything looks like in tip-top shape, as it should be. 10 grand they're asking, though. It's a 300. It's not even a V8, yo. I don't know if I would pay 10 grand for this. I get it as 92,000 miles. However, there are lots of cars out there with lots of miles that are still in really good cosmetic condition. I'd say for me, having under 100,000 miles, though, it does merit a little bit of a boost in price. I'd be willing to go up to 6 grand, maybe even $6,200, $6,300 for this example right here. But this is a really nice one if you want a mint condition straight 6 car. Does it have the heated seats or anything like that? Nope, no heated seats. Cool, moving on to our next example. We have another silver one. This one, as you can see, if it'll load. Headlights, very cloudy. This is typical. We have got the chrome 6-spoke wheels, though, which is all right, I guess. Spoiler as well. Paint is fading on the roof, as you can see. Very typical on a car like this, especially in a car where lots of sun. This one's in California, so aftermarket system, but it's not a full screen. This is an old school aftermarket system, as you can see here. Got some wear on the center console, but the passenger seat doesn't look too bad. Back seats look really good as well. This one, again, silver on beige. Steering wheel shows some signs of wear. You can see this is a 300 straight six model. For the 2001 model year, for the facelifted cars, they did add this electric shifting mechanism. So basically there is up and down buttons on both the front and back of each side of the wheel, so you can change gears on the wheel, kind of like a predecessor to paddle shifters. You'll see this a lot on different cars of this era. It's pretty cool to use, but again, not completely necessary, I guess, but it does come on facelifted models, so you don't have to really think about it. Interior wear and tear, it's okay. The driver's seat looks the worst. Every other seat looks actually pretty good. Silver on, what is this, gray or beige? This is more of a gray. So silver on gray. So kind of silver on, or gray on gray, really. With the spoiler. Silver badges. They want $4,500 for it. It's a 300 facelift model, 147,000 miles. I'd say for me, being that this is a facelift model, but the cosmetic condition, especially with the headlights, aren't the best. Just factor in a new set of headlights. I'd be willing to go up to around $3,800 for this one. I think $3,800 would be a really good deal. Yeah, especially for how clean every seat but the driver's seat is. It doesn't look bad, especially for $3,800. Cool, moving on to our next example. We have another 2002. Did we look at this one already? I don't think so. Anyway, looks similar to that one, I guess. So another 2002 model. This one only has 118,000 miles, and they want $5,600 for it, just about. Cloudy front lights, typical. You can see it's on the 6-spoke wheels. This one almost looks like it has a two-tone paint job. I'm not sure what's going on here. That's another thing I liked about the Gen 1 GS was they came with the two-tone paint job. I think it looks pretty cool, but again, it is what it is. Scrolling through, cosmetic condition, I guess it's just like paint fade, but the cosmetic condition isn't the best on this car. As you can see, different colors in the paint. You got some scuffs right here, but overall body panel fitment isn't the worst. Interior looks not the best either. You can see a lot of dark spots. Whoever was getting in and out of this car was not a clean person. Maybe they were working in a shop or something. I remember, side note, when I was working as a diesel tech at the fleet shop, it was a 24-hour shop. Basically, we had to clean the bottom of the buses every summer. So we put the buses on the sterile Coney lifts, and then we'd have to power wash the bottom of the bus. And if you know what the bottom of a bus looks like, it's super dirty, super greasy. And so every summer, my car, I had a white interior car at the time. Yeah, this armrest looked just like this, and the seats looked just like this because I'd be just covered in grease. But I mean, the wear is there. The grease isn't good for leather like this because it has like particles of dirt and stuff, so it becomes abrasive, and then you start to have this type of wear. So it's not good to leave stuff like this on the seats. Seats are probably going to fall apart soon, honestly. Back seats look all right. Passenger seat looks all right. This is a beige interior car, beige on beige. 118,000 miles. They want $5,500 for this. I'd say because the cosmetic condition inside and out isn't the best. You can see paint fade on the hood as well. Or that might just be a cloud, actually. But I'd be willing to go up to $4,800 for this. I mean, you could go higher because it is a lower mile car, but cosmetic condition alone, I'd be at $4,800. Cool. Moving on to our next one, we have a white 2003. This one is going to be a white on gray, it looks like. Yeah, I believe this is the gray. I don't think it's the beige. The beige is a little bit more orange. But again, it's hard for me to tell with these pictures sometimes. You can see this one has a spoiler, though. It's on some aftermarket wheels, or not wheels that are for this vehicle. It doesn't look like. I'm not too sure, actually. They are 6. No, these are 7 spokes. Anyway, we can see it has the seat heaters. What else can we see? It doesn't look... Yep, it has a sunroof. This looks actually very new compared to the rest of the interior. I don't know what's going on, but we can see here has the premium audio system, seat heaters, standard stuff. These are Lexus wheels. I'm not sure what they come off of, though. This one is also a 430. 148,000 miles in this one. It's 2003, so one of the later model years. And they want $8,000 for it. I think, you know, just look at the front seat again. I mean, it's not too bad, honestly. It doesn't look that bad. It also has the perforated leather. So, not too bad. It's just not the best spec. White on gray. 150,000 miles. They want $8,000 for it. I'd be more around the... For a 2003, you could pay a little bit more because those are later model years, of course. But I'd be more around the... Like, I'd be around... probably around 5,900, 6 grand for this one. I really wouldn't want to go above that, honestly. Cool. All right, moving on to our next one. The last one on Auto Trader, we have a black example, only 106,000 miles. This one is going to be a 300. You can see the lights look okay. They look like they've been buffed out, but they're still original. We can see we have a pinstripe on this one in gold. Silver badges, no spoiler. Taillights look good though. This one has the 6-spoke wheels. Moving on to the interior, the leather looks pretty good. No wear on the back seat. How about the front seat? Front seats look okay. The passenger seat looks really good, but the driver's seat doesn't look as good. But again, it's decent. You can see it has the seat heaters. It has the shifters right here. Again, premium audio system. Most of them, if not all of them, came with it, so you really don't have to worry about that. And there is your 2JZGE. Timing belt replacement done at this time, so that's good that they have that up there. 106,000 miles, 7,800 bucks they want. I mean, it is a 2003. I'll give them that. And it has low miles. However, the spec isn't the best. The seats, I mean, the condition of the car is actually pretty good, comparatively speaking. So I'm not going to knock it on that. For this one, having 106,000 miles, this one, yeah, I'd be around the $6,500 mark for this car. I think 6,500 bucks for a 03 is a pretty good deal. Cool. All right, moving on to the last place we look at ads, Car Gurus. If you haven't liked the video already, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot, helps out the channel, helps, you know, people get this type of information out there. But yeah, I got some announcements actually after the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. So here we have a first example. This one is going to be a 99. They want a lot of money for this one. It has 133,000 miles. This one is a 300, and they want 8,500 bucks for it. Why? It's not even, I mean, it looks okay. I mean, you have some blemishes here and there. I'm trying to see why they want so much money for it. Interior looks, as you'd expect, not the best. You have some wear right here. You got wear right here. How about the back seat? The back seats also, the back seats look decent. What else can we see here? Premium audio, Nakamichi system. No seat heaters. How about the sunroof? Has a sunroof. Yeah, this one is way overpriced, y'all. 133,000 miles. I get it. It's not a lot of miles, and this is you know, not a first model year. It's a 99, but it's still a pre-facelift. I wouldn't go higher than 5 grand for this, honestly. And you know, compared to some of the other examples we looked at, I think 5 grand is a little bit too high. Maybe 4,500 bucks. That's why there's no price analysis, because there's nothing even close to this. How long has it been for sale? It's been here for 95 days. So anything above 3 months, you really can lowball it. So go ahead. I'd say 4,500 bucks is where I'd be at for this car. Moving on to our next example, we have a green car. This is a green example on some aftermarket wheels. I do like this green. It's a 99, has 121,000, and it is a 400. So it has the 1UZ V8. We can see the interior has this wood trim stuff, and it actually matches this time. So it looks a little bit better than the last example we looked at. We can see the wood trim. I'm not sure this is stock. You guys can let me know. I don't really know because it's in some weird places, but I have seen it on a couple models. We can see the interior. How does the back seats look? Front seats, you can see a lot of wear on this side. 121,000 isn't the most amount of miles, so it looks kind of worn for the amount of miles. What else can we see here? Yeah, they don't even want to show the front seat. That's how bad it probably is. So, you know, it's a cool color, but the interior is not the best. It is a beige interior. Green on beige is a cool combo, but I'd much rather have green and black, especially with these wheels, the aftermarket wheels. I don't see why this is a fair deal. I'd say for me, being a 99 with 121,000 miles and it is a V8, I'd be willing to go up to around, I'd be willing to go up to maybe $5,300, possibly $5,500 for this example. But actually, no, it doesn't have original wheels. 5 grand. 5 grand is where I'd be at. Plus, just the wear and tear is not the best. 5 grand, just because it's a cool color and it's a V8. Cool, moving on to our next example, we have a 99 300 again, but this one's silver with the 5-spoke wheels. You can see the headlights look pretty clean. This car looks pretty clean in general. You can see not too many scuffs or anything going on with the car. Looks pretty good. We have some marks right here, but nothing too crazy. Gray interior. Not the worst interior. We can see a little bit of wear on the seats, but nothing crazy. Yeah, I mean, it looks clean. It's not too bad, honestly. Back seats look pretty nice. It's actually one of the more cleaner examples. How many miles? 136,000 miles. They want 6,400 bucks for it. It is a 99,300. So I don't know if 6,400 bucks is what I'd be at for a 136,000 mile car. I'd be more around the 55 to 5,800 dollar mark for this one, just because of how clean it is. This one's a very clean example. This is what I'm talking about. You really want to focus on the cosmetic and the visual condition of the car over the mileage. I mean, of course, you have to factor in the mechanical condition, but you can kind of get a good gauge, a good idea of how well the car was taken care of based on the interior. And as you can also see, or as you saw basically throughout the whole show, the interiors vary greatly. So pick the one with the nicest interior. Moving on to our next one, we have a gold example. This one is going to be stupid expensive, but it is low miles, 87,500 miles, and they're asking 10,300. So one of the more expensive ones we've seen so far. Yeah, I already see there's a seat cover and they got all this. So what are they hiding? We can see it's on 5-spoke wheels and they're chrome, but I don't believe these are, well, they might be stock. I can't really tell, honestly. We can see this one has the extra wood covering everything, the gauges, as well as the center console. This one, I mean, I'm sure this is the same Lexus Premium Audio, but the wood doesn't say that. This one is a 430 though, so keep that in mind. 430s are going to be more desirable, pretty much the most desirable one out of all of them. You can see lots of wood on this car, but it doesn't have the shifters, which is interesting. Because for some reason, I was under the impression that the shifters came on the V8s. Maybe they only came on the 400 V8s. You guys can let me know. But yeah, you can see this one has a spoiler as well. Has seat covers, so I'm not sure what's going on underneath the seat covers. It's really that bad, or they just want to save them and preserve them. The front seat, the front driver's seat at least looks decent from what we can tell, but they didn't really show it, so that's unfortunate. Not the best ad to be asking this high of a price. And this is a salvage? Oh, what is going on here, man? Okay, I'll be at $2,000 for this car. I mean, it has 87,000. I'll be at $4,000 for this car. There you go. Whatever. Moving on. We have a 2001, so we're starting to get into the facelift models. We can see this one is on 5-spoke wheels. Spoiler 2, but actually, did we already look at this one? No, we didn't. We can see some cracks on the bumper. Nothing too crazy, but they are there. See some scuffs here as well. Interior is going to be the black interior. I love the black interior. You guys can see it looks really nice compared to the beige and gray. Really, black is the only way I'd go. But scrolling down, we can see the condition of the rear seats is pretty good as well. Driver's seat looks all right. Nothing too crazy. The front console looks also in decent shape. Can't tell if it's aftermarket or a new one, but it looks really good for for what it is. You can see the 4.33 UZ. $8,000 they're asking. It has 150,000 miles. I'd say for me, just based on other ones we looked at, other comps we looked at earlier, I get it as a black interior, so that gives it a little bit of an edge. However, $8,000 is a little bit too high for 150,000 miles. I'd be more around the $6,800 mark for this example right here, just because it is a black interior car. Cool. Moving on to our next one, 2002 with 162,000 miles. It's on the chrome 6-spoke wheels. No spoiler on this one. Taillights look good though. Headlights look decent. Sunroof as well. This one is also a black interior car. We can see that there's hardly any wear and tear on the seat from what I can see so far. It looks actually really good. I mean, of course, the black is going to show the wear a little bit more because of the creases. They are lighter in nature, and then you can see them better, obviously. But it is a black interior, and it looks decent. Back seats look untouched as well. So, not a bad car right here. It is a 300, so keep that in mind. 2001 GS 300 black interior. They want $9,000 for it, basically, and it has 162,000 miles. No, thank you. I get it. It's a black interior, but it's still a 300. And the body, the exterior, actually the exterior is not that bad. Yeah, the exterior is actually in decent shape. I'd say for me, being that this is a 300, but it is a 2002 with a black interior, I'd be willing to go up to $5,800. Yeah, 5,800 bucks, maybe 5,500 bucks if I can get that. But 55 is where I'd start at for something like this. Cool. Moving on to our next one, we have a gold or beige color one on the 5 spokes in chrome. Headlights look okay. We can see some scuffs here on some dents on the bumper. Aftermarket rotors, as you can see. Spoiler 2, so looks pretty good. We got a beige on beige car here with the beige interior. Let's check out the wear on the seats. These seats actually look pretty good, if I'm not gonna lie. Like, this actually looks really good. Hardly any wear. You can tell the person who drove this car was a light person. They didn't weigh too much. They didn't put too much stress on the seats. You can see also this has a stock factory navigation system that I think is super cool in terms of just, you know, getting the ultimate spec of a car. This is also a 430, so we have a V8 with the nav system, which is super rare to find. You really don't see these nav systems, and I think the whole setup looks cool, the way the screen is angled. Yeah, this one is very clean for a 2002 with how many miles? 155. This is what I'm talking about. Some of them just look pristine no matter what amount of miles you get. 8,500 bucks they're asking. I say for me, man, I mean, I guess I get it. It's a 430, so it has the 3UZ, it has nav, it has everything. It's pretty much fully loaded. It has the chrome wheels as well as upgraded rotors. I'd say I'd be around $6,800 to $7,000 for this example. This one is actually really nice. I get it. It's not a black interior, but the quality is just unmatched. Like, I really haven't seen a car this clean, especially with the nav system. So 6,800 bucks is where I'd be at for this one. Moving on to our second to last ad, we have a silver example. This one is going to be a 2003 with 130,000 miles. It is also a 430. Looking at the body, no big panel gaps or anything to speak of here. You can also see it is a black interior. So again, highly desirable in my eyes. It's on 7-spoke wheels. You can see the black interior looks pretty decent. Let's look at the front seats. It also has the perforated leather. Unfortunately, the perforated leather is more susceptible to wear and tear simply because it's perforated. So keep that in mind. If you get one with perforated leather, just, you know, be extra careful with these. If you have anything in your back pockets, you'll probably scratch the seats and they might tear eventually. But we can see that it has the seat heaters. There's your 430, the 3UZ. Of course, it has a sunroof and everything, spoiler as well. So fully loaded pretty much except for nav. 131,000 miles. They want $7,000 for it. You know, that's not too bad, honestly, for being a 2003 with a black interior and being pretty fully loaded and clean. I try to get it for what, 60, I'd say 6,200. Start there and see where I'm going. I could probably go up to 65, but I try to stick under 65. So starting at $6,200 for this example. This is actually really nice. Something that I'd personally look at simply because, I mean, the mileage is not the lowest, but 131 is definitely not high by any means. Black interior, silver exterior, you know, decent wheels. Everything is clean. Yeah, this would be something I look at personally. Moving on to our last example, we have a 2004, one of the later model years, one of the last model years for one of these. You can see it's on the 6-spoke wheels. Body wise, it looks pretty good. You don't see really any big gaps or anything like that. Headlights look pretty good. You can tell they're original, but they're not new or anything. They are original, but they have been buffed out, or at least kept pretty shiny. The rear tail lights also look good. They're not faded or anything. We don't really see any scratches or scuffs anywhere on this vehicle. Looks pretty good to me. Let's look at the interior. We have another black interior car. Unfortunately, what we see here is what happens when you use, this is what happens when you use like the cheapest leather cleaning products you can. It makes it really shiny. And people, like, I don't know if this is like a boomer thing or like a non-car person thing, but they think shiny is good. And so they like the shininess, but it actually looks really bad. And it's really bad for the leather. The leather should be kind of a matte finish. Should not be, or maybe it's satin finish, like slightly glossy, not completely matte, but completely glossy like this is not a good sign. But yeah, just keeping that in mind. You can see same thing with the wheel. I don't know if this person is just really greasy in general, but the shift knob, the wheel, the seats, everything is super greasy. Lexus premium audio. You can see you got some wear on the system itself, on the fascia, but it's not anything crazy. Sunroof, back seats also look shiny. I don't know what they clean the car with. Not really a big fan. I think they, you know, they're kind of doing themselves a disservice here because people are gonna look at these and be like, ugh. like it doesn't look that great. But so let's price this one out. 4,500 bucks. It has 300,000 miles. This is a 300 too. Yeah, I mean, that's why they had the seats look like that. They were trying to clean them. 300,000 miles. I'd say for me, I'd be around the $2,000 mark. I mean, it says it should be around 1,500 bucks for 300,000 miles, but I get it. It's that's a Lexus. You really don't. 1,500 bucks where I'd be at. Yeah, 1,500. I'm not gonna even front like I don't want to pay 1,500 and I'd rather pay 2K. This one is really high miles, so 1,500 bucks. You can get this for 1,500 bucks. I mean, you know, you're probably going to run into some issues in the future. I'm not going to lie, you're at 300,000 miles, but for 1,500 bucks, you can't really go wrong for a last model year 2004. This one's been on the market for 28 days, so not too long, just about a month. I need to remember to look at those. The last one, this one, 108 days on the market, For this last black interior car, yeah, it's too high. For this one is probably the cleanest one I've ever seen. It's been on the market for 327 days. So these pictures might even be old. I don't know what's wrong with this one. I guess the price is just crazy and no one wants a beige on beige, but this one's been for sale for a year. Yeah, man, if you want to get the best deals, try to find one that's been on the market 90 days plus. Because at 90 days, that is when dealerships really want to switch out their vehicles. They're probably not, using up too much of their floor plan to keep vehicles like these on the lot, but they do want to make space for other cars. So yeah, keep that in mind. So that pretty much wraps up the ad section of this video. I'll go back to this so we can just go over again what I think will be the best way to get this car and how much you should pay. I think you should get as fully loaded as a car as possible, black interior, because that is going to be worth the most. I'd say get the 430. It's not going to be the best on gas compared to the 6-cylinder. However, I think the 430 would just make for a much better driving experience, especially if you're going to get one of these as a run around. You really want to get something that's fun to drive if you're going to be driving one of these a lot. You don't want to get something boring like a Camry or a Corolla. You can get one of these with the V8. It'll be way better. In terms of aftermarket stuff, you can get whatever you want for these cars: suspension, exhaust, engine tuning, supercharger. You can do manual swaps. You can get interior parts swapped. Tons of different stuff you can get. Huge market for these. Again, they were on the same platform as the Mark II, the Chaser, and the Cresta. So those are huge cars in other markets. And it's a shame they didn't send them here. I'd say, though, to get a 430, the gas mileage isn't terrible. You're probably average like 23, 24. Not the worst. With the 6-cylinder, probably a little bit higher than that, but not too much higher, honestly. Actually, no. I'd say 22, 23, maybe with the V8, counting city and highway driving. But yeah, it's not too bad. I'd say get at 430. That's what I say. The 300 is nice. But again, it's just a 300. It's not even a real 2JZ. Like, let's be honest here. It's a naturally aspirated 2J. Like, it's not the engine people want. People always brag about, oh, I got a 2J, you got a 2J. But you're not making big power, man. Does it really matter? No. It would be nice if we got the GTE here in the States. But, of course, we did not. In terms of options, I'd say get the... it doesn't really matter, honestly, in terms of aesthetic options. Get the spoiler. I think the spoiler looks good. Most of the options here are going to be standard. Most of them were optioned with them. So you don't really have to worry about that. Just get a facelift car. Yeah, they do take premium. A lot of people forget about that. They do take premium. Yeah. I was saying this earlier. I put 87 in my LS 430 and my old one. And literally the same day, my knock sensors went out. I don't know if they were just on the edge. This is when I first got the car too. It was like either the second or the first tank of gas I put in the car. I put in regular. I don't know why I did that, honestly, but it was horrible. Yeah, and it's hard to change the knock sensors. Underneath the intake manifold, you're going to have to get that all taken off, removed. You're going to get new gaskets and everything. But, if you want something more economical, get the 300, but don't pay 400 or 430 prices for a 300. Keep that in mind. In terms of problems, I'd say the biggest thing is ball joints, and you want to make sure that there's no rust on the car. You want to make sure it drives nicely. Also check for leaks. It could happen anywhere. Engine, valve cover, oil pan, transmission pan, differential. You want to make sure it looks good underneath. But most importantly, no rust. No rust. For me, as I mentioned, I'd probably get a black on black one to match my LS, because that would be kind of cool. So LS 430 and GS 430, both in black and black. I try to find one with nav, but as we saw online, there was only one with nav. So a pretty rare option. And that probably doesn't hold much value to people buying the car aftermarket anyway, because it's so rare, people don't really expect it. So it's all kind of something that you'll only appreciate because people really want to change up. Like the nav systems, the stock nav systems are cool simply for being nostalgic and old school, but that's about it. If you actually want real functionality, don't get the nav system, just get an aftermarket head unit. It's going to be way easier to add in aftermarket sound, aftermarket amps. Yeah, it's going to be way easier to connect your phone. You're going to have CarPlay and all that. So I'd just recommend staying away from the nav for most people, unless you really, really want the nicest one out there, then get nav, but you don't need it. It doesn't really, it adds a little bit to the interior, but it's so rare, it's not even worth really finding. Cool. So that pretty much wraps it up for today. Quick announcements. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different type of a show. I'm going to be doing the best entry-level supercar show. So I'm going to go over my picks for the top supercars. I'm going to have like a little graph or a chart to show the pros and cons and what different comparable aspects there are between each vehicle. And so the value for these, what I'd say is a good starter car is going to be around 100 grand to around 150 grand. I think that's the best window in terms of price for the starter supercars. So we're going to be going over the 650S, the R8. We're going to be going over, you know, Viper, pretty much everything that we talked about on the channel, just in a one condensed thing. We can talk about it as well. I think it's going to be a good discussion, a good discussion. Because usually we focus on one car, but when we compare a bunch of different cars, you know, get a lot more people involved. I think it's gonna be a good thing. Plus, I do want to do more discussion types videos in the future. Also, so that phone call earlier, if you guys don't know, or of course you guys don't know, I didn't say anything, but I'm getting a new job, so I'm moving actually in the next month or so. I'm gonna be moving to another state, so probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I might take like a 2-week break or so just to get situated, set up my studio there. But in the meantime, I'm going to be trying to upload edited videos, so we'll see how that works. A shout out to RCC. I appreciate that, man. Comments like that is what keep me going, so appreciate it, brother. Well, I don't know if you're a girl or a guy, but appreciate it. But yeah, lots of big changes coming to the channel. I'm going to start doing more discussion type videos. Probably start off with one a week to try to just work it in. And yeah, I'm going to be lots of changes coming up for the month of May and June, so stay tuned for that. Shout out to the 7 people in here right now who stayed towards the end of the show. I know I ramble a lot, and so yeah, I appreciate you guys sticking around. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Clean whips. Yeah, it was crazy. Like the process for me getting this new job was like 4 months of interviews, and it's like, wow. I can talk about that more later. You know, as things move along. But yeah, that was just like the final call that I was on, and it was just him explaining like salary and benefits and stuff. But yep, so that wraps it up for today. Tomorrow we're going to do the supercar discussion, and I hope to see you guys then. If you haven't liked and comment, or haven't liked and subscribed, like and subscribe to the channel. Let's try to get to 10 likes today. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow with the top entry level supercars. And as always, peace.